Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Reselling 101, Part 4 of 10, dun dun dun, inventory. This section begins to talk about the how of inventory, specifically in creating, maintaining, and keeping track of your items via a simple system that you create just for you. And I want to start today by saying to all of you, take a deep breath. Because I think that for whatever reason, this part of reselling inventory systems, as well as the next part that they sort of go hand in hand, which would be spreadsheets or keeping track of the details, really create stress for people. And if you get anything out of this section and the next, I hope that it's breathe. It doesn't have to be stressful because you're going to create a system that works for you. I think that if resellers, YouTubers, onliners agree on anything, it's important to keep track of your stuff. And if you watch videos from other folks on how to create a system, and if you watch more than one, you're going to find, just as in everything else in this business, everybody has a distinctly different way to do it, right? And I think you can really make yourself crazy trying to recreate that. So just take everything with a grain of salt, bring it in, and then set it free. Make something that's going to work for you. And I think the most important thing, this used to be, I just didn't want to have anything to do with this part of it, but it's important. And once you sort of demystify and simplify and just sort of understand why you create the system, I think it becomes really easy. And the most important thing about it, as it starts to look complicated, really understand that you're wanting to create a system that you can grow with. It's not enough to just create an area, like have a corner in your house somewhere, because the first time you lose something, it's going to become crystal clear, like blaringly obvious why you should have had a better system in the first place. So did everybody take a deep breath? All right, so we're going to put up our hair and we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to do this. So remember, our goal is to create, oh, that's kind of funny, isn't it? Our goal is to create a system that gives us room to grow. So why do it? Well, we want to be able to find things. And I know that sounds really silly that you think, well, I'm just going to put it over here on the shelf. Yeah, that doesn't always work. And whether you're selling in one category, clothing, or 100 different categories, it's still going to be important. You can't, and it's not even so much relying on your memory. It's just having a system and having order. Chaos just doesn't work long term. I promise you, trust me on this. And simplify it. So as we go, we want it to make sense to you. So I'm going to kind of start big and work backwards. And then maybe if you've already watched some other videos on how to create these mega systems, it'll maybe make more sense to you. Start with a specific space. And in today's example, we're going to use this sort of, and I have some things on it because we'll get to them in a minute, but this is going to be our blank slate, our canvas for today. And it's a simple 4-shelf unit. Okay? So whether it's a shelf, or maybe you have a closet, or you have a clothing rack, or a bin, or a bucket, and I have one somewhere. Oh, right here. Maybe you're going to store everything in something like this. Have an area for it. A bin, box, whatever. So let's start with this one right here. And I'm going to do my best to make it make sense as we go. So for us, everything has an area. And whether you're in a warehouse where you have all these rows and rows or different rooms or just different bookshelves, each area we're going to call a letter. Okay. And this is going to become important later on. We're going to actually come back and it's going to hopefully make sense as we tie this inventory number into your spreadsheet or record keeping. But for today, this is just going to be shelf A or area A. And because it has 4 different shelves, each shelf is going to be numbered as well. So this one would be, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and write it so it makes sense. So this would be A1. And that's simple. And I'm purposefully handwriting them so that you don't have to think that everything has to be printed on a computer. You have to go through all these steps. I mean, really, let's keep it simple so that you can just jump right in and make your own inventory system. So this is our A, and each shelf will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so our area would be A1, A2, A3, A4. And I want you to take your address label and stick it right there. And we actually, a lot of our shelves, in the other side, you can start from the bottom. So maybe 1 would be at the bottom. And you would do it that way only if you think you're going to add shelves on top. But for this one, let's just assume that this will always be a little 4-shelf unit. And we can, with confidence, start with 1 here. A1 turns into A1 something else if you're going to itemize or separate the sections on this shelf. Now, let's say you sell DVDs or CDs. Another part of your inventory system and how you keep track and keep everything in its place is how you put it on that shelf. So if we sold, I don't know, name something big, those little things that you surf with, like surfboards or the wave boards, right? That would probably take up this whole thing. So A1 would just be dedicated to that one big thing, or 2 or 3 big things in that case. So then it would be easy for us to say A1, and then the inventory item would go along with it. Then it would be 1, 2, 3. But if you're, like I said, a CD or a DVD person, this would be A1, 1. And let's say we did little boxes or little cubbies across the shelf for each thing. This would then become A1, 1, A1, 2, A1, 3. And then we go to 2, etc., etc. And you do that. And as we use our stickers and we go, this is important. So this number, this inventory space, should never change. And we're using stickers because you want something that, so think about it like the number will never change. So the designation should be sort of permanent too. If you use Post-it notes for your inventory or your sticker items, this is what's going to happen. You're going to put it there, and eventually it's going to fall off. Been there, done that. Doesn't work very well. So use a sticky. It's not going to go anywhere. Your item numbers are going to increase. And this is going to make more sense maybe with a spreadsheet, but as you have your inventory, look at your inventory items as the first thing I bought is going to be number 1, or the first thing I list is going to be number 1. And those numbers are going to grow, right? Never go back. If, let's say I had 10 items and I sold 1, 3, 5, 7, I'm never going to reproduce that inventory number 1. 1 just became a history, it's a sold, it's a whatever, because I think that's where you're going to run into trouble. So as you increase your inventory items, those numbers will just have one thing, and then you can go back and it's easier for record keeping later on. We'll talk about that later. I'm kind of going all over the place. But these items have to stay the same. The inventory items will grow. Where they go will never stay the same. So A1, 1 can have 1 through 20 in it, right? Item number wise, 1 through 20. But we're going to take out of there. And once 1 through 20 are gone, we can certainly reuse the A1 section with, 31 through 40 or whatever. But there's no better time to create your system than in the beginning. It's sort of a great best practice, right? And if you ask anybody, if you start it later, like instead of starting it right out of the gate, if you start it later, it's just going to be more headache. Can it be done later? Oh, yes. But it's going to be unnecessary time you're spending when you can just start it right from the beginning. There's some variations that you can do as well as how you put them on your racks. And really, I'm hoping this makes sense. It was my intent. But if you see over here, for us, this is another section that Jason takes care of. And these are how we do our shoes. And to sort of save a step or to do a step in advance, we've actually put some of our shoes already in the priority mail boxes that they're going to ship in. So that saves us a step later on. And in this case, the shoes will have their item number and then their inventory section where they're placed on the racks or the shelves right here with it. And that's going to correspond to a line item on the spreadsheet. Same with clothes. You know, if you're a clothing person, maybe it's a rack, and we actually print, you can print on the sticker or write on the sticker the item number and where it is. And we use, again, these Post-it notes are going to fall off. So make sure that whatever sticker, whatever designation you give it in your inventory, you know, you can use an alligator clip to put it on. In this case, this shirt, this isn't going to go anywhere. So you can put that right on the thing. Some other shortcuts, you know, some people will actually put on their inventory, they'll actually put the things in whatever container, like in a padded envelope or padded flat rate envelope, or even these plastic baggies. You can do that, and that saves you a step further down the line. You can also stack in priority mail boxes, but the important thing that you get from today is that a lot of people will use inventory, and you see these letters and numbers and this and that. It corresponds to an area in your home. Okay, let's just not even talk about warehouses. Area in your home, whether it's your closet, your shelf, your bucket, your bin, whatever. And then within that same area, be able to go back and find it. Because I think it's all good and well to say, well, I know my stuff, and I have this Star Wars figure and this Star Wars figure, but it's not going to matter to you until you lose it. And then when you do lose it, you're going to be faced with, you know, what do I do with the buyer and the potential negative feedback? So if you're getting anything from this morning, it should be that have a place. Like, remember we talked about everything, a place for everything and everything its place. This is that time. So area, shelf, space on that shelf. And then the next time we'll talk about, you know, taking inventory, taking that inventory information and putting it into your spreadsheet. Whatever you do, create a system, have a separate and safe space for everything, because it's important. So thank you all. I hope this started to make sense in your brain. I hope that if you came into this thinking inventory, what? That you can start to break it down. And that's why there are different designations for area, for shelf, and then for space on that shelf. You can always send us an email if you have questions. We'd be more than happy to help you. Thank you once again for tuning in to see this important step of many toward reselling with me. I think that it's important. Order is always important. It doesn't have to be crazy. You know, whenever it gets stressful, just take a deep breath. I hope that it made sense, and that will help you, that it will help you create a storage and inventory system that works well for you and your purposes. Remember, you have to cater it toward, you can't replicate what someone else is doing, nor should you try. Make it make sense to you and make it work for you. And whatever you do, do something. Don't leave it to chance that you can list all of your thingies without keeping track of them. Because maybe, you know, one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day you're going to certainly misplace or lose something. And it's not good for you, it's not good for the buyer, and it's certainly not good for your history. So thank you for watching. Please consider liking this video and all its chaotic ramblings today. So consider subscribing if you haven't already. Stay tuned for the next one, which we'll do. Actually, we're going to create a spreadsheet together, and you'll be able to see it right on the screen. We'll do a screen share with that. Thank you again for joining me this morning and being gracious and kind with your support of my own new journey on reselling. And this is Karen saying good reselling 101 to you.